Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Kaspa coin. Okay. Now, we haven't covered this bad boy in a while, so a lot of things have had happen, right? Look, the first thing I noticed, ladies and gentlemen, right, is a unique type of price action. Okay. So when we go in something and look at something like the weekly, right? First thing I notice is that we did tap into this weekly order block all the way up here, right? We tapped off here and then we sold off for a couple of weeks. But guess what? We also tapped into this bottom order block. Okay. So for me, right now, we are just kind of ranging. Okay, we are kind of just ranging because even when we take away the order blocks, we can see that up here, boom, we have a high for the weekly, and then down here we have a lower high. But what do we also notice here? We have a low, right? Boom. And then guess what? We have a higher low as of right now. If this higher low does get respected, then what we're going to be seeing over the next few short weeks is price bouncing up and down until it has to decide. And for me, I believe it is going to be going to the upside. Now, why is it going to be going to the upside? Well, ladies and gentlemen, right, when we go and look at something like even, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, it is at a very, very unique type of moment, right? It's not confirmed yet, but I do believe overall that we are going to be creating newer highs over the next couple of weeks with Bitcoin. There's just a lot of good news surrounding Bitcoin. The price action is okay. There isn't the most extreme amount of confirmation just yet that we are going to explode, right? I do expect a little bit of minor pullbacks, but overall, it is looking fairly solid, right? And I'm going to talk about Bitcoin just for a little bit because this is relevant to Kaspa. When we see Bitcoin, we can see it has a zone, sells off, boom, goes lower, and eventually, right, creates another zone, boom, goes lower, right? Every time it goes up, it kind of just sells off aggressively. This time around, though, we can see that almost for a whole entire week, we have been ranging sideways, which makes me believe that we actually do want to make this into a support, right? A support of around 107 to 108,000, and then push past these current zones that we're at. Boom, this, right? And once we do that, right? Once again, things like Kaspa are going to see some money pumped into them because that's just the way the markets work. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, for something like Kaspa to really, really pump, right, we do have to practically, break heavily with Bitcoin dominance. Okay. When Bitcoin dominance is going to start selling off aggressively, that is when Kaspa is going to have its shining moment. We saw a lot of coins back in November/December when Bitcoin dominance was selling off aggressively. We saw a lot of coins have glory. Render went from like $4 to $12. Other coins did really, really good, right? We can see that practically Kaspa went from, let's just say 10 cents upwards of almost 19 cents. So almost doubled, right? It almost doubled, and Bitcoin dominance only dropped 6.5%. Okay. So imagine what's going to happen when Bitcoin dominance drops super, super aggressive and heavy for the altcoin season. And let's say we even just go from like 70% to 40%. Imagine how well Kaspa is going to pump, right? When we drop 30% dominance, 35% dominance instead of just 6.5. Okay. And not to mention the fact that a lot of the money will be transferring from something like Bitcoin to other coins. Plus, overall, I still expect for us to have more money in the crypto markets, just generally speaking. So Kaspa should really reap the rewards. Since we are already on the monthly, this is a beautiful weak sell candle. It really, really, really is. Okay. Yes, it's looking a little bit messy on the 3 month, and the 3 month does not look the best, to be honest. But when we look at the context on the monthly, it actually looks quite solid. Okay, it really, really does. Now, once again, the only way, this big, nice weekly candle and everything we talked about gets invalidated is if we do start printing, lower lows like this. Okay. I really don't think that is going to be the case. It could be a little bit of a boring summer, hypothetically, right? I know historically in for other summers, Bitcoin hasn't done too much, which means altcoins kind of wander around, go sideways. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, right? Overall, if we do, let's just say hypothetically range for the summer, just go sideways more or less, right? Then that is going to be a preparation for, once again, the last quarter to be pumping up hard. Ultimately, I believe Kaspa will see its glory probably, closer to the end of Q3/Q4, right? We really shouldn't see any too crazy, like crazy pumps heading into 2026 that, you know, late. If anything, Q1, there still may be pumps. But other than that, right? Other than that, things should look normal. Things should look solid. And that is just the reality. Okay. And the reason why I say it's probably not going to go past Q1 is because I still expect some type of recession, most likely to play out in 2026. And like the maximum, I'm being generous, is us surviving halfway through 2026. Okay. It just wouldn't even make sense in terms of charts and everything. Right. When we look at something like even the 6 month chart, right? Our main job is to just kind of be rejecting this as much as possible. You know, we did sell off for roughly a year now, so I do overall expect some type of bounce backs. Okay, I overall do. Now, obviously, the yearly looks like this. All right, the yearly looks like this, but obviously, I still expect very, very nice green candles over the next few months. But that is it, ultimately, ladies and gentlemen. I do have a lot of Kaspa myself. I've been looking at very, very nice buy zones. I am still investing in this coin as I do believe it is going to do very, very, very well. For me, Kaspa should be hitting at least $1.50 this cycle. And even then, some people might consider that underwhelming. But for me, that is in the realm of, the realistic possibility. And even, um, you know, for me, I do think it could still do better. But that is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, especially if you want to see more Kaspa videos. But yeah, I love you guys so, so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially back. And yeah, talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.